With just a week to go until Britain's already delayed departure date from the EU, the UK's Prime Minister, unable to get her deal through Parliament, wants to delay Brexit yet again, writing to the EU calling for an extension until the end of June.
None of our economies are growing fast enough to guarantee that a no-deal scenario wouldn't push us into recession. So it's a bad outcome all round, and I think the French understand that. I think the Germans understand that. And what we are looking for is to avoid a long extension.
The EU itself wants to avoid the UK crashing out with no deal. It also doesn't want a series of short delays, so the idea of a longer extension, possibly a year, is being talked about in Brussels. But that would have to be approved by all the EU leaders at an emergency summit next week.
So the question will be, has the Prime Minister got sufficient detail and sufficient, can she give European leaders sufficient assurances that June the 30th is a sensible date and there's a plan of how to get there? And will the EU think actually with the interplay for domestic issues there, the European Parliament elections, is that a sensible date for them? And that will be the big question over the next week or so.
And an extension could see Britain having to field candidates for EU parliamentary elections in May, which will be unpalatable to many of those who voted to leave. Theresa May is still trying to win support from both sides of the political divide. She's still coming under attack from some within her own party, and talks with the opposition are challenging.
We all want to break this deadlock. We want the talks to continue. But compromise does require change.
Writing on Twitter, the arch-Eurosceptic Conservative MP Jacob Rees-Mogg wrote, "If a long extension leaves us stuck in the EU, we should be as difficult as possible. We could veto any increase in the budget, obstruct the putative EU army, and block Mr Macron's integrationist schemes." In her letter to Donald Tusk, Theresa May makes it clear that the current political impasse simply can't go on, that the public's faith in politics is being damaged, and she acknowledges the EU's desire to move on from Brexit. Britain could soon find itself out of the EU decision-making process. There's still no clear path as to when that will actually happen. Emma Hayward, Al Jazerra, Westminster.